Hello and welcome back to the most amazing channel on the internet. I am your host, Miss Rebecca J. Felgate, and we are talking the top 10 scary, underrated creepypastas. We've all heard of Slender Man, we know Jeff the Killer, we've heard of the Russian sleep experiment, but there are hidden gems out there, so stay tuned because once again I am your spook duke, guiding you through the murky depths of horror. Don't worry, I promise you that we'll make it out alive, just don't drop your torch. Because creepypastas are long in nature, this video is also quite lengthy, so why not boil the kettle and settle in for the ride. Before we get into this video, I as always want to hear from you. Why don't you let me know your favourite scary story or scary creepypasta? I used to love the one about the hairy toe, the "Who's got my hairy toe?" Do you guys know it? Let me know. I love your thoughts. If you haven't yet clicked that thumbs up button, please do go ahead and do so, and why not share this video with a friend. If you're loving the sound of these creepypastas and you want to hear more, then check out the links in the description box because I have linked all of the original texts themselves. Also in the description box you'll find links to our most amazing Instagrams and the credits to everyone who went into making this video so you can connect with us off screen. Alright, let's do this. Coming in at number 10 we have Satellite Images. This is a sad and touching creepypasta about a woman in a wheelchair who uses Google Earth to explore places that she can't go. She really enjoys it at first, but then she sees a happy, carefree looking woman, her face blurred out obviously, strolling through the streets in Paris, and she feels sad because she knows that she won't ever stroll through the streets of Paris herself. She starts using Google Earth every day as escapism and starts to spot the same woman over and over in different countries and continents. She was showing up literally everywhere. It's almost like she was digitally haunting her. Guess what happened when the woman started getting knocks at her door and then she Google street searched her own road. Surprise. Coming in at number 9 we have The Couch. Sometimes I dream of owning a beautiful 1970s style gold vintage couch, but then I think, okay, I love vintage things for their look and style, but should I be stopping to think about who owned them before me? After reading this creepypasta I am thinking that yes I should. The Couch is credited to Johnny. The story goes that when Johnny was little, he was playing with marbles on the floor by said vintage couch. Now the couch had a flower pattern on it, quite distinctive. It went along with the mismatched furniture that the boy had in his family home. One day his favourite marble rolled under the couch. I know that feeling, you're like, no, come back marble. He reached his tiny little hand under, but he just couldn't reach it. He went back to the rest of his marbles to continue playing when he saw an old, dead, withered looking hand reach out from underneath the couch, extending as far as it could, as if to touch him. He screamed and told his mother, who thought that actually he just had an overactive imagination. The boy spent the rest of his childhood imagining a village of hand people living under his sofa. When he reminded his mother of this as an adult, she actually seemed way more freaked out than she had back in the day. It seems that the previous owner of the couch was an old woman who had died at home, although the person who gave it to his mum didn't say where the woman had died. Perhaps it was the couch. Coming into number 8 we have Where Bad Kids Go. This story doesn't have a credited author, which makes it even scarier to me. It's short and to the point, which I really like. It's about a guy who grew up in Lebanon in a period of war. Now during that time kids were scared by the media in order to keep them in line. Good kids stay inside and go to bed when they're told. Bad kids, well, apparently there was a show about it. The moral of every episode of the show were things like bad kids stay up late, bad kids have their hands under the covers when they sleep, and bad kids steal food from the fridge at night. The closing scene of the show was always very creepy, weirdly so. An old rusty door would appear and text would come on the screen in Arabic saying, "This is where the bad kids go." The narrator grew up and the show actually kind of always stuck with him. He grew up to be a photographer and journalist, and one day at a low point in his career he decided, you know what, he'd make his own news and do some research. He said, "I finally managed to uncover the location of the studio where much of that channel's programming had been recorded. Upon further investigation and research, I eventually travelled to the site. I found it was now desolate and had been abandoned after the big war ended." What he found when he went inside? well, it will haunt him forever. Coming into number 7, we have Happy Sun Daycare. This is a creepypasta written by Chelsea Adams 524. It's quite long and has a surprise twist, so I'll give you just a summary and then leave a link for you in the description box so you can check it out for yourself if you want a little read before bed, or not. So picture this, an old abandoned daycare with a sign outside that reads Happy Sun Daycare, and it's got a little kind of creepy cartoon picture of a sun on it. The story goes that a journalist was doing some digging into the daycare's past and found out that adults who went there as kids seemed a little bit scarred. They all seemed to have memories of a bad dog and a mysterious room with a grey door. What the journalist uncovers is truly terrifying. I'll leave it at that. Coming into number 6, we have On the Bus. This one really got me. Buses in general are underrated, right? I love a good bus. They get you from A to B, they're a low-cost way to travel. I've got the bus to Manhattan from Toronto a few times and it's been really great because it drops you off right in the center of the city and it's really cheap, although it does take 12 hours, but beggars literally can't be choosers. This creepypasta is about a bus in Bogota, Colombia. The male author is aware of a number of urban legends around the city, including a one-legged wailing banshee, a backward-footed doom goblin, and a phantom bus that if women board it are found dead days later. The guy didn't think much of it though, you know, they're just legends and he's a man after all. One day he boarded a very old-looking bus, which actually isn't uncommon in Bogota. The guy's phone battery was dead, so he was just kind of staring around out the window and at the other passengers as you do. He began to notice that everyone on the bus was really old. When the bus reached the guy's stop, he realised that no one had got on or off for 30 or so minutes, which was very weird considering it was rush hour. The guy dinged the bell to get off the bus, he got up, walked to the door, but then he found himself back in his seat, facing the front of the bus again. He thought he was going mad, so he tried again. He got up and he pressed the button, but he found that he was back facing the front of the bus. On his third attempt, he caught the eye of an old woman who he'd never met, but her gaze seemed to really speak to him. She didn't say anything, but she just stared. He walked to the front of the bus again and screamed at the bus driver. He threatened him to let him off, and boom, he was back sitting in his seat facing forward again. It was like Groundhog Day but on a bus, although the guy didn't stay the same. He looked down at his hands and somehow they appeared to be older, rougher, more wrinkled. He kept trying to get off the bus and the old woman he saw reached out and grabbed him by the wrist. She stared at him directly in the eye, which was when he noticed that she was wearing young clothing, the type of clothing that a teenager would wear, but she was very, very old. He found himself back in his seat and this time his hands looked even older, much older, so old his arm hair is white. It's a struggle for him to make it up to the driver. His body aches, yet he tries to get off the bus. He finds himself sitting in his seat facing forwards, forever on the bus. Coming into number 5, we have Polybus. Polybus is a creepypasta turned urban legend, as they often are. The story is about an arcade game that may have been leading people to disappear. The creepypasta says that in the year 2000 in Portland, Oregon, there was possibly a government conspiracy involving a video game. Basically, the story goes that a black box arcade game started showing up in arcades across the city, a throwback to kind of 1980s video game era kind of boxes, and people were into it. The game was really popular, but it didn't have any branding, it was simply black and mysterious. People were intrigued and they played it. The game involved geometric patterns and eye-wateringly bright, colourful shapes. It seemed as if the game was hypnotising people, making them sick or in some cases making them disappear. After gamers played, men in black suits were seen servicing the machine, which led to rumours that it was part of the CIA's MK Ultra mind control pursuits. Storytellers have named the game Polybus after a Greek historian who said that you should never report what you can't verify. Whether or not the story is true, it has become part of pop culture. The creepypasta even found its way into a Simpsons episode in 2006. Would you play it? I would not. Coming into number 4, we have Lisa. Lisa is actually a reasonably well-known creepypasta, but I feel like it deserves more airtime because, you know what, someone's gone out there and drawn some scary drawings and they are pretty freaky. It seems to have been told from a child's perspective. I'll start you off. If you want to read the whole saga, the link is once again in the description box. So the first part is a drawing of a little girl with a spooky looking imaginary friend with red eyes. I think if a child draws blood, it would kind of look like this, right? The text under the image reads, "This is Lisa. She's my friend. My mum and dad can't see her, so they said she's an imaginary friend. Lisa, is a nice friend. Note the spelling errors for added kid writing effect. Sure, Lisa is described as being a nice friend, but like, is she? You'll have to read the whole creepypasta because, I mean, they say don't judge a book by a cover, but Lisa looks like a literal ghoul, and the creepypasta has really only confirmed it. Coming into number 3, we have Annie96's Typing. This creepypasta is pretty extra as it is a horror story told in real time. The story comes from Pascal Chatterjee in 2014. The story goes that a writer stumbled across a WhatsApp thread from 2 people, Annie96 and McDavie. The creepypasta was popular at the time of its release, but people seem to have forgotten about it now. It's pretty long, like most creepypastas, but if you want to live in real time through Annie and Davey texting, find out what happened to them, it's actually pretty gripping. Do check out the link in the description box. I sat there doing this afternoon, and by the end I was like, no. Things are getting even more interactive with a creepypasta game that you can play at home. At number 2, we have the Midnight Game. So this is a creepypasta that you can try out if you want to, although I wouldn't recommend it. According to the creepy copy pasters of the internet, there is a spooky game called Midnight Game. Ba, ba, ba. According to the pasta, the game takes its basis from an old pagan punishment ritual used to scare people into obedience. Classic religion. So in this game, a person writes their name on a piece of paper, which is sealed with a drop of their blood. The player then lights a candle and tapes the paper with their name onto a wooden door. Wooden is important, and so is timing. You have to knock on the door exactly 22 times, with the last knock at the stroke of midnight, hence this being the Midnight Game. The player then opens the door, blows out the candles, closes the door and relights the candle. Faff. This apparently means that the midnight spirit is now in their home. It's the player's job to avoid being caught by the Midnight Man, who will try and scare them until 3:33 AM. Some absolute witching hour horror. Finally, buckle in for this at number 1, we have Radio Silence. I am a writer myself, or I try to be when I'm not churning out 2 12-minute, 2,000-word most amazing videos a day. I absolutely understand what it's like to craft a good story, and this creepypasta is pretty well written, so instead of paraphrasing, I'm just gonna read you the story pretty much verbatim. Radio Silence was written by Ben Bartlett, who had 4.3 thousand upvotes, which means it's a good story. This is what they said. 36,400,000. That is the expected number of intelligent civilizations in our galaxy, according to Drake's famous equation. For the last 78 years, we've been broadcasting everything about us on our radio, our television, our history, our greatest discoveries. It's out there in the rest of the galaxy. We've been shouting about our existence at the top of our lungs to the rest of the universe, wondering if we're alone. 36 million civilizations, yet in almost a century of listening, we haven't heard a thing. We're alone. That was until about 5 minutes ago. The transition came on every frequency that we were listening to. Transcendental harmonics, things like hydrogen frequencies, don't appear in nature, so I knew it had to be artificial. The signal pulsed on and off very quickly with incredibly uniform amplitudes. My initial reaction was that this was some sort of binary transmission. I measured 1,679 pulses in 1 minute that the transition was active. After that, the silence resumed. The numbers didn't make any sense at first, they just seemed to be random jumbles of noises, but the pulses were so perfectly uniform and on a frequency that was always so silent. They had to have come from an artificial source. I looked over the transmission again and my heart skipped a beat. 1,679. That was the exact length of the Arecibo message sent out 40 years ago. I excitedly started arranging the bits in the original 73 by 23 rectangle. I didn't get more than halfway through and my hopes were confirmed. This was the exact same message 40 years later. The numbers in binary were from 1 to 10, the atomic numbers of the elements that make up life, the formulas of our DNA. Someone had been listening to us and they wanted us to know that they were there. Then it came to me. This original message was transmitted only 40 years ago, which must mean that life must be around 20 light years away. A civilization within talking distance. This would revolutionize every field I'd ever worked in. Astrophysics, astrobiology, The signal is beeping again. This time, it's slow. deliberate even. It lasts under 5 minutes with a new bit coming in once per second. The computers are of course recording it, but I start writing them down. 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. I knew immediately that this wasn't the same message as before. My mind races through all of the possibilities of what this could be. The transmission ends, having transmitted just 248 bits. Surely this is too small for a meaningful message. What great message to another civilization could you possibly send with only 248 bits of information? On a computer, only files that small would be limited to text. Was it possible? Were they really sending us a message in their own language? Come to think of it, it's not out of the question. We'd been transmitting pretty much every language on Earth for the past 70 years. I begin to decipher the first encoding scheme I could think of. ASCII 01010100. That's B. 01100101E. As I finish piecing together the message, my stomach sinks like an anchor. The words before me answer everything. Be quiet, or they will hear you. Whoa! That sent chills up my spine. I mean, that could actually happen, right? You never know what's happening in deep space and what's gonna happen one day when we do receive that message. We're shouting about our existence, but perhaps we should, keep quiet. So guys, that was the top 10 scary, underrated creepypastas. We have got a link to all of those in their full forms in the description box, so why don't you go and check them out if you want some light bedtime reading that, will keep you up all night. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, your Spook Duke. Thank you once again for watching this video. Don't forget to let me know your favourite spooky story. Leave a thumbs up on this vid, share it with a friend. We've got a whole playlist, so stick around, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!